This is the city of Lismore, and every house with a mesh fence around it has been bought by the Australian government and now sits empty and deserted. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. Wherever you look, there is house after house that is scheduled for removal or destruction. I have lived in and around this town my entire life. My 3 children were born in Lismore Base Hospital. This is the house I've lived in for the last 20 years, and now it's scheduled for removal or destruction. You may be asking, why has this happened? Well, you see that blue sign on the post? That's the highest flood level ever recorded in Lismore in living memory. That was 1974, 50 years ago. The flood got over 12 metres above standard river height. That's why all these houses are the height they are, to be above the flood level. Well, that was until 2022 when a flood came through here that was almost 3 metres higher. The flood water was so high it went over the roofs of our houses, totally wiping out everything we own. I was a carpenter, I had my own business, and I lost all my tools that I'd been acquiring for decades. All the tools my deceased grandfather left me, all our furniture, our cars, our clothes, our photos, our keepsakes, pretty much nothing left, as the water was not only full of raw sewage and chemicals and mud and debris, but it was also partly salty as well, which just managed to kill anything electrical at all. Then, as I said, the sewage treatment plant went underwater and backed up through all the drains, flooding the town with raw sewage and floodwater at the same time. The smell was unbelievable. It took us months to gut the house. All the plaster on the walls had to come off as it was completely stuffed, as well as our ornamental ceilings and our decorative architraves, all which now hang down. And the big kick in the teeth was when the insurance company turned up and then told us that even though we'd had insurance for 30 years, they were not going to cover us for our contents or the house. The town had no service stations left to buy any fuel, and the only one supermarket that was left open was totally empty within a couple of days. We got put on food rations, only allowed to buy 1 loaf of bread and 4 tins of food at any one time. Thank goodness it was only just me and the missus and we didn't have like 6 kids or something. I think we would have starved. That and any servo that didn't get taken out by the flood was empty of fuel and food within a few hours. Thousands of people were left with no houses and now no insurance, and the banks refused to refinance because they considered all these houses to be write-offs. You've also got to realise that thousands of businesses got wiped out too, and most of them didn't get insurance either. So thousands of people had no jobs, which means no income. They had a house they could not live in or borrow against, no money to replace all their stuff or to repair their homes. On top of that, you still had to pay your mortgage if you owed one. A lot of these houses are owned by retired people that are now grey nomads. You know, they travel around Australia, they've rented out their family home so they can have an income to travel around in a caravan. Most of them didn't have the money or the resources to do anything about their houses. Whole families were sleeping on the lounge room floor of their families' or friends' places. Others who did not have anywhere to stay were left in halls and basketball courts until temporary accommodation could be found. But most of that was all hundreds of kilometres away in Brisbane. On top of that, we had no electricity in town as the substation was taken out. So after several years of living in our houses with no walls and no ceilings, the federal government stepped in to buy a crap load of these places, basically doing the work of the insurance companies. Pretty much the government had to bail all these people out. But of course there were conditions involved. First of all, we had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So I can't even tell you what I got offered for my place. But put it this way, I wasn't doing cartwheels in case you think they felt sorry for us and overpaid people. Second of all, you were not allowed to use that money to buy another house with the possibility of flooding. Third, the place had to be completely clean and vacant, which means you need to find somewhere else to live while waiting for the money. Now, when you receive a large amount of money, it gets deposited into your bank. So if you owed money on your house and you sell it, the bank takes back whatever is left owing on it. And if you were like me and you'd lost your business or place of work, then you couldn't even refinance for another home. So basically, let's say you got $400,000 for your house and you owed $200,000 on your mortgage. Then the bank takes that $200,000 before you even see it. Now, you have $200,000 left to try and buy a new home, including all the fees, all the moving expenses, and no chance of a loan. It was so bad, the bloody bank even refused to answer my emails. So, after living in this area basically my whole life, we're now forced to move 400 kilometres inland because there is no houses to buy around here. Everything that is above flood level, the prices have skyrocketed. Houses are up to $1,000 a week rent for a 3-bedroom home, $600 a week for a 2-bedroom flat. That's if you could even find one, or you even had a job to be able to pay that kind of money. Hundreds of businesses never even reopened. So if all this wasn't enough to make you start thinking about what shotgun to start brushing your teeth with of a morning, I actually got diagnosed with stage 3 bowel cancer at the exact same time. I had a massive operation that left me with 47 staples and crapping in a bag. At the same time, I had to try and rebuild our house. Makes you wonder what the hell you did to deserve all this. Well, there you go. Hope you liked the video. If you could use a good laugh, then check out my review channel. It's got over 100 hilarious videos on there. Big shout out to my Patreons, Mitch, Jackson, Legend Boys. If you want to be a legend as well, follow the links to Patreon, where members get to speak to me live and get videos sent to you early, as well as knowing you're helping out a creator. But if you're broke like me and still want to help, next time you go out, put on one of my playlists for your dog or your cat, or maybe you hate your neighbours, in which case you could turn it up nice and loud. Oh well, you all be good, stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Play the music! Techno.
Cosmopolitan Railroad.